In the previous chapter, we explained that according to Islamic sources, devils are actually jinn, not angels, and that jinn are creatures that live, eat, drink, reproduce, and die in a different dimension like humans. According to Islamic culture, there were two types of jinn, the reptilian ones and the gray ones. Similarly, in popular culture, aliens are generally of two types, reptilian and gray. In this section, we will explain the similarity of gray alien beings with the jinn in Islam by showing concrete evidence that these beings really exist and that they have similar characteristics all over the world. In addition to the snake and dragon-like aliens mentioned in the previous chapter, there are also ordinary aliens called grays. We all know the characteristics of gray aliens. All eyewitnesses who have seen aliens describe them as gray-colored beings with short stature, large heads, and slender arms.
The most predominant one are the small gray aliens and taller gray aliens as well. The taller gray aliens seem to be more in charge in the abduction scenario. The smaller gray aliens seem to be more assistants or helpers. These are beings that are thin, have no hair, large heads, very large black eyes, no pupils in them, just sort of opaque. No nose to speak of, although there might be a little bump or a ridge there.
Now let's turn to the depictions of jinn, genies, in Islamic culture throughout history. In Muhammad Isa Dawood's book, Conversations with Muslim Jinn, eyewitnesses describe the forms of the jinn as follows. Their heads are slightly larger than humans. Their eyes are big and wide like those of a gazelle. Their noses are rounded and shaped like a spoon. Their hair is very sparse. Their arms are longer than human arms. The leader, Iblis, has very long horns, and generally they have a dark complexion. Again, in one of the ancient works, a man who wrestled with a jinn said that jinns are very weak and frail compared to humans. In another narration from the time of the Prophet Muhammad, it is said that jinns resemble the people of a tribe in Sudan. That is, jinns have a human-like appearance. So in conclusion, these descriptions of jinns are exactly similar to those of aliens. Another similarity is that both jinn and aliens can change shape because they are dimensional beings. First of all, according to quantum physics, it is known that objects in the upper dimension do not have a distinct shape in our dimension, that is, in this third dimension, that we can see and feel. As you will see now, since aliens, whose real shapes are in the form of reptilians and grays, are upper dimensional beings, they can sometimes pass into our dimension as a biological being, while sometimes they do not have a specific shape in our dimension. This is why there is the phenomenon of shape-shifter, that is, shape-shifting beings seen all over the world. People who have had encounters with aliens state that aliens can shape-shift and enter any desired form. For example, regarding the reptilian aliens known as reptilians in the Americas, it is said that reptilians can scan your mind and appear as your loved ones. They can manipulate you in this way. The phenomena of summoning spirits, seeing loved ones in dreams, and shape-shifting can be explained in this manner. The shadow beings whose videos you showed earlier are also alleged to be extraterrestrials living in another dimension. The other type of aliens, the grays, are also said to have the ability to take on different forms. The same shape-shifting ability is also attributed to jinn. According to Islamic sources, for jinns to take on a desired form in our dimension, they need to perform magic. According to written sources, when the Prophet Muhammad was asked about al-Ghalayan, a type of jinn, he replied, "They are sorcerers of the jinn." Islamic scholars have also conveyed that jinns can shapeshift using magical methods. There is also a famous recorded incident in which Satan came to Prophet Muhammad and his companions in the form of a human being and left after answering some questions. In another ancient written record mentioned by Caliph Omar, an old jinn named Hameh is described as coming to Prophet Muhammad in the guise of an old man, accepting Islam and leaving. Another written historical record about the commander Khalid bin Walid states that when he was destroying the idol of Uzza, one of the gods of the Arabs, A black female jinn came out of the idol and commander. Khalid cut it in two with his sword. Upon witnessing this event, the Prophet Muhammad explained, Uzza was being worshipped inside it, and it will no longer be worshipped. In Imam Shibli's book, a compilation of old events, there are accounts of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad who encountered incidents in which jinns took human form. Imam Ghazali, in a personal story he narrated, mentioned an incident where a man staying in a haunted house was attacked by a black creature made of black fire, and the man killed it by reciting Ayat al-Kursi, a verse from the Quran. When the creature died, he saw burnt pieces and ashes. Both in Muslim countries and in other countries around the world, many people have witnessed and experienced sleep paralysis and encounters with shadow entities. They have seen and been physically affected by dark entities in the form of shadows. These shadow beings also show that jinn are capable of shape-shifting. When one stays away from sins and recites the necessary protection prayers, these beings leave. This shows that these beings are jinn.
For example, in the morning her husband gets up and goes to work. She says, I'll sleep a little more. Then someone in the guise of her husband comes and lies next to her. And such a thing that he touches me, my legs turned black, she says. What are you saying? Look, we live these things every day. I hear these things every day. I'm trying to say that the Republic of Turkey should pay attention to this.
Could be the same thing doing it too.
Shapeshifter? Something that can make itself look like anyone?
Every culture in the world has a shapeshifter lore. The legends of creatures who can transform themselves into animals or other men.
In the book called Ajib al-Makhluqat wa Gharaib al-Mawjudat, written by Zakaria bin Muhammad al-Kazwini, and in Kitab al-Bulhan, many different types of jinn are described. Since we know that jinn are of two types, reptilians and greys, we understand that these other types of jinn are jinn who have changed their appearance. Some of the drawings in some of these works are also stated to be angels. However, according to Islam, it is very unlikely that angels will ever meet human beings other than prophets. Those who appear to people and try to deceive them by saying, we are angels or fallen angels are also jinn. We will show other evidences of this later.
Reptilian beings can take the form of a relative or acquaintance of yours when they come across you. For example, a deceased relative. That is, they can change their appearance. Sometimes they can come in the form of an animal, and all these shape-changing, disguise-changing, form-changing events lead us to another place.
This is the third night in a row he's come around. This son of a bitch is stalking us.
Look, my name is John Klein. My car broke down.
Why don't we let Gordon finish, Mr. Klein?
2 nights ago, at 2:30 in the a.m., there's a bang on the door. I open it up, and here's this guy. He says he wants to use a phone. But there's something just creepy about him, right? So I tell him to get lost. And last night at 2:30 on the dot, guess who's back?
You sure it was Mr. Klein here?
I am absolutely positive it's Mr. Klein here. I am not crazy.
I didn't say that you...
Okay, so then what happened?
So last night I warned him off my property. I used the word trespass, Connie, and he still came back. You're lucky that I'm a Christian because I had the right to shoot you right there on my porch.
You actually had to have been inside the house, Gordon.
What? Fine. So I mean, tonight I figured maybe the dumb fuck might come back again, and sure enough, here he is.
This is not... It wasn't me. I don't know what's happening here. Something's very wrong here. I don't know these people. I have never been here before. I'm from D.C.
Things have been strange around here lately. What kind of things?
Oh, you really don't want to know, Mr. Klein. Past few months, people have been coming up to me and reporting that they've been seeing strange things. And I'm not talking about the town speed freak. I'm talking about good, honest, church-going people. Now, I've known these folks my entire life, and they seem downright embarrassed to be bringing it up.
Bringing what up?
It's hard to explain. Weird lights, strange phone calls, you. Seeing a UFO is one thing. What do you do when someone comes into your office and tells you they saw this in their backyard?
She saw something. True pictures. Who showed you this?
Another similarity is that both jinn and aliens disappear and turn into sulfur when they die. Except for the human-alien hybrid corpses that we will talk about later, neither jinns nor aliens have ever come to us as a bloody, living, or obvious corpse. No one has ever captured and imprisoned them except by magical methods, because even if they biologically pass into our dimension, they turn into sulfur and disappear when they die. This situation proves both that jinn and aliens are in other dimensions and that their corpses somehow disappear. The incident that Imam Ghazali told a little while ago is an example of this issue. When the igneous creature died, it left behind only black ashes. Mujahid, one of the companions of the Prophet Muhammad, narrates that Mujahid saw a jinn appearing in the form of Ibn Abbas when he got up for prayer, and when he saw the jinn again, he stabbed it with a knife. He even heard the sound of his body falling to the ground, but his body disappeared. In magic rituals, when beings materialized into human form, the jewelry on these beings was requested, and samples were taken from the materialized jewelry on them, but after a while, these jewelry and objects lost their shape and disappeared. Again, according to what was told in the Ancient Aliens documentary, flying objects that fought each other in the air in 1561 disappeared when they were shot down and fell to the ground. Again, both aliens and jinn emit sulfur smell when they die and where they pass into our dimension. The common feature of creatures that are seen in different shapes by people and become legendary in different regions is that they all leave sulfur smell behind. For example, as it is known that UFOs and aliens leave a sulfur smell behind, it is also claimed that chupacabra, a creature claimed to have been seen by many people, emits a strong sulfur smell. Eyewitnesses have reported the smell of sulfur in places where UFOs have been seen, aliens have been found, or haunted houses have been found. In ghost movies, sulfur smell is also emphasized. Imams of Islam, who know the jinn well, have also stated that jinn emit the smell of sulfur when they die.
Because they also have a body. We say that when Azrael strikes, the soul leaves the body and throws it to a different dimension, to the realm of Burza. But how does he do this to the jinn? If the jinn is already a soul, then does Azrael grab it and drag it? Does he say, "Let's go, my son"? Doesn't something have to separate logically? They have a light thing. There is a body, but this body is not flesh and bone. There is such a body, it separates from this body, and a light thing like foil tape falls to the ground. And there is a sulfur smell over time when it rots. Sulfur smell. You hear a lot of sulfur smells in old houses, ruined houses, even though there is no sulfur. Or I do something like jinn session. Burn the jinn inside and say, "Throw its ashes on your face." Don't say anything though. He says directly, "It smelled like something sulfur. Something was thrown into my nose." I proved this many times. I mean, I didn't even say what it smelled like.
Stuff is covered in sulfur. Yeah, there's not too many things that leave behind a sulfuric residue.
Demonic possession.
What do you want from me? Fear. I can smell it. What the hell?
Another important similarity related to the topic is that the chief god in polytheistic religions and the chief devil in monotheistic religions have one blind eye. In the following sections, we will prove that the gods in polytheistic religions are actually devils, that is, aliens. We all know the story of Prophet Abraham blinding the chief devil's eye with a stone he threw. Similarly, Odin, the chief god of Scandinavia, has one blind eye and is depicted as an old man. Likewise, Horus, one of the chief gods of Egypt, has one eye. In mythologies, these gods are said to have been blinded in one eye under various pretexts. However, in Islam, the chief devil was blinded by a stone thrown by Prophet Abraham when he tried to haunt Prophet Abraham. This is how it is described in stories and written historical records. The stoning of Satan event also took place in Islam because of this incident. The expression of blind devil is also famous in our traditions. Another similarity is that both aliens and jinns live in space. First of all, scientifically, Quantum physicists have stated that subatomic particles in the upper dimension can move faster than light. In other words, a creature that may be in the upper dimension will be able to move very quickly in space. We all know that aliens can already live in space. But strangely enough, although these aliens are in another world, they are never seen with an oxygen cylinder or a spacesuit. In the same way, the jinn in Islamic culture can move or live in space. Let's look at the historical records that jinns also live in space. According to a written historical record, the jinns asked Prophet Muhammad, "We are in space. How can we pray in your masjid?" In response to their question, the 18th verse of Surah Jinn was revealed in the Holy Quran. As their name suggests, aliens live in space, but for some reason, despite so much travel in space and many planets being imaged for years, no visible intelligent society living on other planets has been found. Nikola Tesla, one of the greatest scientists of the century, is today recognized as the first inventor of radio in essence. So with whom did Tesla first communicate with the radio? According to his own claim, with aliens on Mars. But today, we know that there are no aliens living visibly on Mars. Let's also add Tesla's note that he worked on UFO construction here. Similarly, Muhyiddin Arabi, one of the great Islamic scholars, and many others like him, stated that jinn lived on planets known at that time such as Mars, and even that there were Muslims among them. Muhyiddin Arabi stated in his work that he went to Mars and wrote Salam there. This writing was found and reflected in the media. This writing, whose location is fixed with coordinates, still stands if NASA did not apply censorship. In Futuhat-e Mekki 1st section, page 8, Muhyiddin Arabi describes this sign he left in the place he traveled with Tayye Makan, so the Stargate method in Islam, as follows. "One day mankind will travel in space. When they visit Mars, they will see some traces and signs I left for them," he said. By the way, let us state here that it has been understood by today's researchers that Nostradamus, the famous French astrologer, took all his prophecies from Muhyiddin Arabi, who lived before him. Again, in the statements of those who claim to have communicated with aliens and in the books written by ufologists, it has been understood that many planets where aliens are said to live do not have a visible life form when observed today. For example, even the Japanese First Lady claimed that she was kidnapped by aliens to Venus. But no conscious life form was found on Venus. The only explanation for all these events is that these creatures are jinn living in a different dimension. There are already many theories by scientists today about also aliens living in different dimensions. Another similarity is that communication can be established with jinn and aliens living in another dimension through magic, and they can cross to our dimension through magic. In the previous chapter, we explained that scientists today argue that the phenomenon of magic, which has been known and used by humans since the world began, may be related to quantum physics. Now let us present the historical records we have on this subject. Aleister Crowley, one of the founders of Satanism, summoned aliens with magic, and a gray alien came to his side. Crowley described and drew the alien that came as follows. There are various magical rituals to summon dragons in different cultures. Ra Sheba is a type of energy of Egyptian origin, that is, magic, and like all magic, it works with symbols only. Ra Sheba came to ancient Egypt at the time of Pharaoh Akhenaten. Communication can be established with dragons through Ra Sheba teachings. Lessons can be learned from wise dragons. The spell books include drawings of gray and reptilian aliens, as well as many different and strange creatures. The reason why there are so many different types of creatures in magic books is that the jinn who communicate through magic are magicians and can take any form they want. That's why they always take on scary forms, because they don't like people either. Quantum science already tells us today that beings in different dimensions do not have a specific shape. In all the books of magic, you will see that the ways of communicating with dimensional beings are described. These dimensional beings can be none other than the aliens that we have proved to be living in another dimension. Because all the characteristics of these beings that come with magic are the same as the aliens. As it is known, an invisible effect occurs in magic and affects people. When we reason, this invisible effect cannot be anything other than jinn. The existence of magic has been believed and practiced in all societies from past to present. We will talk about the magicians in the historical period in the following sections. Again, in the following chapters, we will prove that in ancient religions, magic was a means of communication with aliens who were gods. Now, in this section, let us try to prove, with a few documents, that magic is a way of communicating with dimensional beings, the jinn. Islamic sources, namely the Quran and the Hadith, the written words of the Prophet Muhammad, clearly state that jinn communicate through magic. We will discuss this in detail in the section on magic in ancient history. In an ancient record in which Satan appears in human form to Prophet Muhammad and his companions, one of the many questions Prophet Muhammad asks, Satan is, "Who are your messengers?" Satan answered this question as, "They are magicians." Great Islamic scholars also clearly stated that jinn played a role in making magic.
For years, many sects have been established in our country and abroad. We call them alien sects, and they accepted every kind of channel information received through mediums without question, which was claimed to be from aliens.
Do you think reptilians are deceiving telepaths?
It is possible because there is such a thing. Mediumship is an existing phenomenon. There are messages received by telepathy. These have been scientifically proven in laboratories. Even researches were done between the world and Apollo astronauts about these, it was proven, etc. This is okay.
Another similarity is that people can ask for help from both jinn and aliens through magic. This help can be of any kind. When you research the subject of magic, you will see that there is magic related to almost everything. In historical records, it is stated that in the past, a man who asked the jinn for the cure of malaria was given the cure of malaria by the jinn. The Cherokee, Chickasaw, and Choctaw tribes of Native Americans believe in the existence of a horned snake called Sint Holo. Although this snake is invisible, it affects people spiritually. It lives in a cave under the sea. And there is an unsourced claim that the Cherokee alphabet was developed by this snake. We will explain in the following chapters that jinns have given information and technology to people many times in the past through magic, and today they give technology in the guise of aliens, and with this technology, Europe suddenly developed in science, and today UFOs fly in the skies. We will also tell in the following chapters about the global spells cast by the Illuminati and how they are trying to accelerate the coming of the Antichrist through these spells. As you will understand better in the following chapters, magic is a mutual exchange and mutual benefit between human beings and dimensional beings.
Consider the day. He will gather them all together and say, "O assembly of jinn, you misled humans in great numbers." And their human associates will say, "Our Lord, we benefited from each other's company, but now we have reached the term which you appointed for us."
Again, another proof that both jinns and aliens are the same beings is that they both have sexual desire for human women. As surprising as it may sound, jinn have a biological body. Although the details of this biological body issue are disputed by the relevant scholars, we have determined that such a possibility is higher as a result of our research. And again, surprising as it may sound, jinns with biological bodies want to have sexual intimacy with human women. There are many evidences of this phenomenon all over the world. In documentaries about abduction, especially the abduction of women is emphasized. The reason why aliens abduct women the most, and why jinns haunt women the most, is because they are both the same.
Will you then take him and his progeny as your guardians rather than me, although they are your open enemies?
From this verse in the Quran, it is clearly explained that jinns can also marry and have children.
In both gardens will be maidens of modest gaze, who no human or jinn has ever touched before.
In this Quranic verse, the Arabic word tams is used, which means to bleed, that is, to break celibacy. So in this verse, it is clearly explained that jinn can have sexual intercourse with human women. Islamic scholars throughout history have not debated whether jinn can marry humans or not. They have debated whether it is right for jinn and humans to marry. In Imam Shibli's book, there are many narrations about the jinn's sexual assaults on human girls and their marriage proposals. This book also contains the debates among Islamic scholars in the past regarding the marriage of humans and jinn. Jinn, like humans, can lust for human women. There are many evidences for this. There are many people who have married jinns. Even today, it is said that in the eastern and southeastern regions of Turkey, snakes abduct young girls by casting spells and take them to underground caves. It is also known that women are more haunted by aliens and women are more often abducted by aliens. In early European history, no sanctions were imposed on women who had intercourse with demons, but later on, witches and women who had sexual relations with the devil were executed. In one recorded incident in 1468, a woman reported that the devil's genital were like ice. Documents from the 13th century record that demons disguised themselves as women and took sperm from men. A 1698 court report is from a woman who said that her dead husband had returned and impregnated her. Similar historical reports can be found in many different cultures. Many people report having children with jinns. Similarly, alien abductees have also reported getting pregnant by aliens and having alien spouses.
Many abduction cases include a face-to-face encounter with greys. Other witnesses came forward with similar stories.
In order for jinns to haunt women or have any influence over them, the woman must have a magnetic deficiency for some reason. Only in this way can the jinns haunt by using the magnetic deficit. In order to create a magnetic deficit, one must cast a spell or commit great sins to create a magnetic deficit in the chakras. This is because the negative brain chemicals that occur when committing great sins also create magnetic openings. In the following chapters, we will show historical records of alien gods in ancient civilizations lusting after, abducting or marrying human women.
I know a very well-known model who got married this way, and she finally confessed to me. We even had a session. 2 friends from TGRT, a cameraman and a presenter. We were at a modeling agency in Istanbul, Bakırköy. I realized it there. I felt that she was in such a relationship because of 1 or 2 of her features. Then she said, "Yes, Volkan. I really was married to them, unfortunately. I have 2 children. They are very serious about this. There are even university graduates among them, very conscious and very healthy people."
He must be dreaming.
No, there's no reason for him to dream. Just for this reason, a psychiatric doctor came to me from America. A woman doctor came, a 50-year-old doctor who was the chief of the clinic at New York Hospital 14 years ago. And she said, "As a Catholic, I believe in this phenomenon. I think some of the patients I treated were not psychological or physiological," she said. She's patients were like this because they were haunted by these entities. She is a very conscious person, and she himself has confessed to this phenomenon about marrying them.
Another similarity is the sealing of those who are abducted by both jinns and aliens. In every culture, people who are abducted by jinns or aliens are sealed in an unknown way with an unknown substance. And again, many of these people have microchips made of unknown materials in their bodies. Many women from different countries have reported that they were abducted and raped by jinns or aliens in their sleep, or while awake, that they felt the physical effects and traces of it when they woke up, that they saw redness on their bodies. They have consulted doctors, psychologists, and religious leaders about this issue. In an article published in Nature magazine in September 1986, it was reported that unidentified microchips were found in the genital area of a pregnant woman by professors from Oxford University. Many people who have microchips in their bodies despite not having surgery have either come to the hospitals themselves or these chips have been detected by doctors by chance. Many of these people have stated that they were abducted by aliens, and they told the same scenarios.
Look, this is what happens. Both those abducted by jinns and those abducted by aliens have this henna-like substance on their hands, especially children, the day after the abduction.
What is this then?
It could not be understood what this was, but it was also detected in people who were abducted in Australia, Israel, and America. And it appeared on their bodies, pajamas, clothes as well. This is a slightly sticky thing, and it is very difficult to clean. Even if you wash your hands all day, it does not come off. This is very common in Turkey as well. Many small children wake up with these marks on their hands in the morning, and their families are very comfortable about this. The jinns took you to a wedding last night. How nice, they say, and continue their normal lives. Now, this is a phenomenon that we see all over the world, that after abduction, people have a henna-like substance on their bodies, on their skin. There are also marks left on the skin. Sealing, surgery scars, bruises, stitch marks. Because in many abduction cases, the person is subjected to a surgery by extraterrestrial beings. They place microchips or remove previously placed microchips. Or, as you said, especially women are impregnated by artificial insemination method by extraterrestrial beings. Because the goal is to develop a hybrid race. And after a certain period of time, that fetus is taken back after 2.5–3 months. Can we go to picture number 12, please? This is related to abduction. Look at picture number 12 now. This is a mark left on the body of a person who has been kidnapped outside our country. Okay, let's move on to the next one, please. This is another person who woke up with this mark on his body the day after being abducted. It cannot be understood what it is.
Where do these pictures come from? Who do they belong to?
These are photos taken during abduction research abroad. That is, the person is abducted by aliens. There is no such mark until one day before. He wakes up with it the next day. Let's continue, please, because we will make a very important connection from here. Yes, another person, another abduction incident woke up with such a mark left on his body. A sealing has occurred. Let's continue, please. This too. Look, these are all from abroad. Now look, this is from Turkey. A mutual friend of ours sent this to me. This picture, this is your area of expertise. This was left by a jinn, wasn't it?
Now, in the previous pictures, we saw the marks that appeared on the bodies of people who claimed to be abducted by aliens in Farah Hanim's own archive. This last picture is a seal that the jinn hit the patient during a jinn session.
Another proof that both jinn and aliens are the same beings is the large number of hybrid alien corpses found. Jinns can biologically cross over into our dimension and have sexual relations with humans. Hybrid creatures are born from this relationship. These hybrids are of two types according to the experts. There are those in mutant form in the third dimension, the dimension of humans, and those in the upper dimension, the dimension of aliens, who have almost the same characteristics as aliens. There are many concrete evidences of those who are in the third dimension in mutant form. After the earthquake in Istanbul during the reign of Sultan Abdülhamid Khan of the Ottoman Empire, underground corridors were opened around the obelisk. Children wandering there find a broken sarcophagus. A mummy half-snake, half-human comes out of the sarcophagus. Pictures of this creature are published in a newspaper called Rezimli Gazette, but today only that issue of that newspaper is missing. It was probably collected by a secret society. Again, long skulls were found in a mass grave discovered in Peru in 1928. As a result of genetic research today, it has been determined that these skulls do not belong to any human race or monkey on Earth. These skulls are different from the skulls of ancient people who later deformed and elongated their skulls to resemble alien gods. Again, the long skulls found in the mysterious underground tunnels in Malta have disappeared. The Maltese government has rejected this issue by not allowing any research to be carried out. There are many ancient megalithic structures in Malta, and according to scientists, it is certain that there were snake priests and baby sacrifices in ancient times in Malta. Egypt asked for help from Russia because of a cemetery that two Bedouins accidentally found underground. The KGB examined the incident in 1961 under the name Project ISIS. They named the tomb Visitor God. It has been stated in the archives that more than one mummy found there did not have human characteristics and DNA, and these mummies were confiscated by the Russians. The inscriptions found state that winged gods will come back after thousands of years and ask people to obey them, and they will kill those who rebel. And again, corpses that surprise scientists with their features of having consciousness while not having human DNA, which are found dead in various regions, are traces of hybrids who die in our dimension. These corpses can be in different shapes due to being mutants, but their general characteristics are the same. The pictures you see here are the pictures that we have concluded that they are not fake as a result of our long research. Many of the bodies you see here have already been confiscated and examined by state authorities and scientists. There are also many bodies that are not known for certain and that are claimed to have disappeared. But we have not included those that are not certain in this documentary. The results of the examination of some of these mysterious corpses have been explained by scientists that these corpses were in fact human, but with a very large mutation. Scientists have said that some of them have 98% human genes, but there is already a 2% gene difference even between ape and human. So even a 2% mutation creates a completely different creature. This genetic difference is the result of human and alien mating, because scientists have no explanation or theory as to what could cause such a large mutation. In addition, the ancient giants, which we will talk about in Chapter 8, are also hybrid creatures, because mutations have been found in their bones. We will talk about the myth of giants that exists all over the world and the existence of bones belonging to these giants in our future chapters. Another evidence that jinns and aliens are the same beings is that both of them live for very long years. First of all, according to quantum physics, it is a scientific fact that the perception of time changes in other dimensions. In other words, a being in a different dimension will experience a different perception of time from our dimension. In addition, according to Islamic sources, jinn move at a speed close to light. This is mentioned in a verse in the Quran.
One mighty jinn responded to the Prophet Solomon, "I can bring it to you before you rise from this council of yours, and I am quite strong and trustworthy for this task."
According to scientific laws, time will flow more slowly for a fast-moving being. We will see later that in ancient inscriptions, kings who were not human and came from the sky lived for thousands of years. Those who contacted aliens stated that aliens lived for very long years, 1,000, 2,000 years. Likewise, those who communicate with jinns also say that jinns live for 1,000, 2,000 years. Reincarnation events, which we will touch on later, are also related to jinns living for so long. A devil who knows the life of a person who lived a long time ago in detail haunts a person living today and gives him the information of that person who lived before and tells him that he is him. Another important similarity is that both jinns and aliens generally do not like humans and want humanity's evil. Satan hates the human race because he is Satan, and as explained in the 3 Abrahamic religions, he works to mislead people, to make them lose both in this world and in the hereafter. Astral travel teachers warn students who will astral travel as follows. Don't be afraid of the creatures you encounter while you are in the 4th dimension. Otherwise, they appear to you as you fear and approach you. Many mediums state that low-level beings of the 4th dimension have an aggressive attitude towards humans. The reason for this is that infidel jinns do not like the human race and serve Satan. Because after humans were created, the jinn race lost their favoritism and were banished to another dimension. They feel like second-class beings because of humans. Because they experience emotions more intensely than humans, they are driven by revenge, and because they want to harm humans, they naturally serve Satan.
Allah asked to devil, "What prevented you from prostrating when I commanded you?" He replied, "I am better than he is. You created me from fire and him from clay. Consider the day. He will gather them all together and say, 'O assembly of jinn, you misled humans in great numbers.' And their human associates will say, 'Our Lord, we benefited from each other's company, but now we have reached the term which you appointed for us.'"
This verse in the Quran describes the cooperation between humans and jinn. This cooperation takes place through magic. In a nutshell, magic in itself is a tool of evil that Satan uses against people. because if the chakras are weak and unbalanced, the person who is bewitched will be exposed to evil. The person who casts the spell also opens all his chakras to the demons, so he becomes a prisoner of the demons. And their lives and deaths are always terrible at the hands of the devils. A clairvoyant medium named Courtney Brown explained in his book Cosmic Voyage that clairvoyance was also used to communicate with extraterrestrial beings. CIA and similar institutions used clairvoyant mediums, not only for the world, but also for extraterrestrials. Brown was directed to contact the collective consciousness of the gray aliens. He soon found himself among a group of gray aliens, but he didn't know where he came from. As he approached the source of metaphysical power, he saw that the atmosphere became more and more tense, and a kind of military control mechanism came into play. When he went deeper, he faced a superior being who managed all this balance. He managed to get information about this superior being. This was a very powerful being. However, it had a very dark structure. According to what is told about reptilians in America, dragons want to take them under their influence by telling lies to humans. They use an irresistible tone in their speech. The point that those who can resist this tone of voice pay attention to is that dragons tell a lot of lies. There are always people who are followed by reptilians and controlled by them. According to their beliefs, the characteristics of these people are that they are selfish, self-centered, callous, materialistic, extremely money-hungry, egoistic people. According to Islamic and Christian sources, every human being has a devil who follows that person for life and tries to make them commit evil. Similarly, the doppelganger in German culture is the person's ghost twin. This ghost, which has a dark nature, does not leave the person's side for life. Similar beliefs are found in almost every culture. Again, everyone who was abducted by aliens told the same things. It was reported that experiments were carried out on humans by aliens in secret areas. Dead human and organ parts were seen. People were held captive and tortured by aliens. After women, children are the most abducted group by aliens. Children, like women, have been subjected to many cases of abduction and sealed, as we will show more evidence of in the future. The Prophet Muhammad said, "When the sun sets, keep your children from going out, because this is the time when devils spread over the earth." According to this written record from the Prophet Muhammad, evil jinns can harm or abduct children. Geronimo, the famous and great chief of the Apaches, said that a race with dragon and snake appearance ate human children. The name of the Apache tribe was given based on a child named Apache who succeeded in killing a dragon. The same situation exists in our belief as well. Jinns love to mess with human children. Jinn, also known as aliens, abduct children to experiment on them or to use them when they grow up. Every year, many children disappear worldwide. Some of these are thought to have been carried out by organ or human mafias, but security forces have no concrete evidence of this. In the next chapter on magic, we will show court records of child sacrifices by sorcerers in ancient times and in the Middle Ages on the European continent. We will also touch on Dajjal's child sacrifices in later sections. In the same way, in ancient tunnels and underground caves in many parts of the world where dimensional beings are believed to live, we will explain in the following chapters that children's cries and voices are heard.
What is it he wants us to do? Is that glass bulletproof? No, sir.
In some UFO encounters, Individuals claim that they encountered some intelligent beings with a mixture of human and reptile when they were taken inside flying saucers when they were abducted. Thousands of people agree on this issue. They have had similar experiences. However, probably 1 in a million of these experiences leaves a positive effect and result. They are generally very scary and very frightening beings.
Another similarity that shows that jinns and aliens are the same beings is that jinns and aliens that haunt humans cause the same psychological problems. The beings that haunt people all over the world disguised as spirits, ghosts, demons, aliens, jinns, etc., all cause the same psychological illnesses and are exorcised with the same methods of haunting treatment. We have already explained why aliens appear to humans under different names and disguises in order to deceive them, and we probably don't need to explain that it is easier to deceive people by disguising them. Devils who want the evil of humans haunt humans in various ways and benefit themselves in this way. That is, they are happy to put people in bad situations or to have people obey them. In addition, the negative thoughts produced by humans are the food source of devils. Based on scientific facts, we can summarize as follows. These dimensional beings feed on the subatomic particles that are released as a result of human thoughts and behaviors, and that is why they haunt people. But in order for these dimensional beings to haunt humans, they have to overcome human magnetism. The magnetic energy field surrounding the human body is a scientific fact and has been proven by quantum physics. We have even explained that Dr. Harold Saxon Burr cured other diseases by healing the magnetic fields of people. This magnetic field of human beings is formed by the brain chemicals formed by their thoughts. In our previous chapter, we proved that thoughts form subatomic parts and have tangible effects according to quantum physics. With the effect of these thoughts, a correct or incorrect magnetic field is formed around human beings. Human beings can disrupt this magnetic field with negative brain chemicals. In other words, they can disrupt this magnetic field with thoughts that are against their nature. Because the phenomena called sins in the Abrahamic religions are actually behaviors that are contrary to the human being's nature. People who commit major sins create thoughts that are contrary to their biology and produce negative brain chemicals. These negative brain chemicals disrupt the order of the human magnetic field. This fact has been proven by quantum physics, as we have shown many evidences. Many religions of the past have explained the same truth. This magnetic field, which is referred to as aura or chakra in some beliefs, is called letaif in Islam. In order for evil aliens to haunt humans, either this magnetic field of the person must be disturbed, or this magnetic field must be overcome through magic. One of the ways in which evil aliens, also known as demons, haunt humans is through magic. Negative energies created by magic based on quantum theory affect both the person who does magic and the person who is done. If a person has magnetic wounds in his thought and soul structure and imbalance in his chakras, he may be exposed to the influence of evil aliens, that is, demons, as a result of magic. If a person has not done things against his nature, that is, if he has not big sinned, negative brain chemicals will not form and the magnetic balance of his body will not be disturbed. In this way, he is safe against all kinds of quantum harm. In other words, in order for a person to be harmed by dimensional beings, either negative brain chemicals that are contrary to nature have been produced through sins, and the electromagnetic field of the body, that is, the chakras, have been disrupted, or that person has been bewitched. For these reasons, the magnetic field of the human being is overcome, and his brain, that is, his soul, is attacked by these dimensional beings. When a person is haunted by these dimensional beings, psychological illness usually occurs. Demons love psychological disorders, because people with psychological disorders constantly generate negative subatomic energies with bad feelings and thoughts. Negative dimensional beings feed on the subatomic energies generated by these negative thoughts. In other words, such people are like a field where demons are constantly cultivating and feeding. In addition to this, after a certain level, they make the people whose psychology they manage do evil and manage them by giving them the instructions they want. We will explain in detail the psychological diseases caused by jinns and their causes in later sections. The reason why not all people are psychologically ill, despite the fact that everyone commits sin, is because some of them are already sinning on a regular basis, of their own volition and feeding the demons. The demons don't need to work overtime to disturb the psychology of people who are constantly sinning. They are already constantly producing food for their negative dimensional beings of their own volition. On the contrary, people who are constantly sinning are often in a good psychological state and happy, because they are the business partners of the demons. It is also described in the Quran and Islamic sources that sinful people are friends with demons and that there is always a demon with them. This is how it can be explained that when sinful people sin, their psychology improves. If they don't continue to sin, they are psychologically distorted by the demons that have taken possession of them. They feel unhappy and they don't know how to repent and get rid of them, so they are compelled to sin. On the contrary, if they become a regular big sin machine, their psychology is further supported by the demons, and they may even be successful in many things. Some people live in a very normal way without going to any extremes, that is, without committing big and continuous small sins, and these people's magnetic fields are not disturbed. These people's psychology is also normal. Some people's goodness outweighs, and because of their very positive subatomic energy, demons cannot come near these people and cannot affect their psychology. Psychological patients are usually in between people who go back and forth between good and evil with a lot of ups and downs. Demons sometimes try to disrupt the psychology of people who commit evil and sometimes do good without any material expectation, or who are religious but sinful at the same time, because they need to turn them completely away from goodness and make them fall into sin, because negative brain chemicals are their main food source and positive brain chemicals are their main enemies. The brain chemicals of positive thoughts and behaviors are harmful to the demons, and they need to destroy the positive brain chemicals. This is why people who are possessed by evil spirits are disturbed by the sound of the call to prayer in a Muslim country, or the church bell, or the cross in a Christian country. This is because negative dimensional beings are harmed by the positive subatomic effects of a belief that reminds them of the Creator. In addition to this, we will also explain the cooperation of those who control the medical sector with dimensional beings and spells in the following chapters. Because although it is a scientific fact today that psychological diseases are related to the soul, that is, to the other dimension, it is a situation that the medical sector does not want to accept. Even scientists do not hesitate to admit that the human consciousness, which they cannot find in the third dimension, is from the other dimension. But the medical sector, by denying this scientific fact, they not only prevent the loss of the money they earn from the medicines they sell, but they also please their partners, the evil aliens. Psychological illnesses are never completely cured by the medicines of the medical sector. In this way, negative dimensional beings always feed on the negative thought energies of psychological patients. Although the medical sector does not accept that psychological illnesses are related to the psyche and other dimensions, there is scientific evidence for this. For example, psychics who are recognized by the scientific community as schizophrenic have two different personalities in their brains. Psychiatrists state that mediums are schizophrenic. According to psychiatrists, mediums have temporal lobe epilepsy. According to this disease, the X-ray image of the brain changes, and a second ego is formed in the brain and communicates with the other ego. Mediums say that this second ego is an alien. Schizophrenia is caused by aliens settling in human minds by influencing our dimension as a spiritual energy while they are in their fourth dimension. Aliens who settle in this way in the minds of mediums who surrender themselves to aliens and communicate with them try to take control by force of the minds of people who do not want to communicate and cause psychological disorders. Because as you can see, while psychics are actually schizophrenic, this schizophrenia in them does not harm them. But schizophrenia in other people creates psychological illness and unhappiness. This phenomenon is called haunting worldwide, and the phenomenon of the devil entering the body all over the world is because of this. In fact, In all past cultures and beliefs, there is a belief that demons, evil spirits, or ghosts cause many diseases, especially psychological diseases. This is also why there is no definitive cure for many of these psychological disorders in medicine. Another similarity that jinns and aliens are the same beings is that jinns and aliens who haunt people are expelled by the same method. Remember, we had previously stated from the mouth of researcher-writer Farah Yurdozu that people who were abducted by aliens and jinns were subjected to the same treatment and sealed in the same way. Again, people who are haunted by both jinns and aliens are treated with the same haunting treatment methods. There are many patients and diseases that psychologists cannot cure, but mediums and hojjas can cure. Thousands of people all over the world go to religious scholars because of their psychological disorders. These people can find peace as a result of religious scholars making jinns ineffective. In conclusion, either all these people are liars and they are acting out the same diseases and telling the same lie in an organized way all over the world, or it proves a universal truth. So what is magic, which is a method of communication between jinns and humans? And how does it work? What are the concrete evidences related to the fact that magic was done and existed? How were magics done all over the world in the past and today, and what did they cause? To learn all these, keep following us.